The real reason for Georgie and Mandy's inevitable divorce may have been revealed in First Marriage. When it comes to Georgie and Mandy, fans of their story have long debated the reasons for their eventual divorce. It's a tale that many hoped would have a happy ending, but the reality of their relationship, as revealed in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, hints that the seeds of their breakup may have been planted far earlier than most expected. By examining the subtle dynamics of their early married life, the first marriage may offer the clearest insight into why these two beloved characters could not sustain their union. Early chemistry, early cracks. From the moment Georgie and Mandy tied the knot, their chemistry was undeniable. They complemented each other in ways that seemed perfect on the surface. Georgie's boldness and ambition matched Mandy's intellect and steady demeanor. The first episodes of their marriage depict a couple that thrives on mutual respect, shared humor, and an almost cinematic romantic energy. Audiences watching their interactions might have assumed that this was a love story destined to endure. However, even in these early episodes, subtle hints of incompatibility emerge. One of the most telling moments occurs during a family dinner in the pilot of the series. Georgie, enthusiastic about launching a new career venture, dominates the conversation with grand plans. Mandy, ever the pragmatic voice, gently questions the feasibility of his ideas, suggesting alternative approaches. While the exchange seems lighthearted, it foreshadows a recurring pattern in their marriage, Georgie's impulsivity clashing with Mandy's measured caution. This tension, minor as it may appear at first, illustrates a fundamental difference in their personalities. Georgie thrives on spontaneity and risk, whereas Mandy values stability and careful planning. Early episodes show that while this contrast initially creates balance, it also sows the seeds of frustration. Georgie occasionally perceives Mandy's caution as stifling, while Mandy begins to feel unheard in her concerns. The first marriage subtly demonstrates that these differences, left unchecked, could grow into insurmountable conflicts. Communication, or lack thereof. Another critical element hinted at in the first marriage is the couple's struggle with communication. Fans often recall the scene where Mandy attempts to discuss her career aspirations with Georgie. Rather than engaging fully with her thoughts, Georgie quickly redirects the conversation back to his own ambitions. On the surface, it may appear as a minor oversight, but in the context of a marriage, it signals a deeper imbalance. One partner's needs are consistently prioritized over the others. Over the course of the season, these moments accumulate. Mandy's subtle disappointment, though rarely voiced directly, becomes palpable to viewers who watch closely. Georgie, meanwhile, interprets her silence as support rather than a sign of frustration. This pattern, repeated over months of marital life, lays the groundwork for long-term resentment, a factor that may explain why their divorce later seems inevitable. The first marriage illustrates an essential truth about relationships. Love alone cannot sustain a marriage. Communication and mutual respect are equally vital, and early lapses in these areas can escalate into irreparable divides. In Georgie and Mandy's case, the series portrays these lapses with nuanced realism, making the eventual divorce less shocking when viewed in retrospect. External pressures and the weight of expectations, beyond personality differences and communication struggles, First Marriage highlights the external pressures that weigh heavily on Georgie and Mandy. The series situates them in a social milieu where expectations, both self-imposed and societal, play a significant role in shaping their decisions. Georgie feels the burden of proving himself professionally, while Mandy faces the pressure of balancing her career ambitions with her role as a supportive spouse. The show cleverly demonstrates how these pressures exacerbate existing tensions. In one episode, Georgie accepts a high-stakes project that requires him to work late nights and weekends. Mandy, meanwhile, navigates her own career opportunities that demand similar dedication. While the plot treats this scenario with a comedic touch, the underlying reality is stark. Both characters are stretched thin, and their ability to nurture their marriage diminishes. This dynamic underscores a theme often overlooked in discussions of Georgie and Mandy's relationship. Sometimes, the environment surrounding a couple can be as influential as the personalities involved. The first marriage subtly conveys that their eventual separation may not be a result of a single betrayal or dramatic conflict, but rather a cumulative effect of stress, unmet expectations, and unacknowledged emotional needs. The role of individual identity, a recurring motif in First Marriage, is the tension between individual identity and marital unity. Georgie and Mandy, though deeply in love, struggle to maintain a sense of self within the constraints of marriage. Georgie's adventurous spirit often clashes with the domestic responsibilities he encounters, while Mandy grapples with the challenge of preserving her independence and professional goals. One episode, in particular, captures this tension with remarkable clarity. Georgie impulsively enrolls in a late-night creative writing course, neglecting household responsibilities in the process. Mandy, frustrated yet supportive, attempts to accommodate his passion while feeling her own needs sidelined. The scene, though framed humorously, encapsulates a central conflict in their marriage: the difficulty of balancing personal growth with partnership obligations. This struggle for identity is a critical lens through which to understand their later divorce. First marriage suggests that the inability to reconcile individual ambitions with collective goals may have been a central factor in their relationship's breakdown. Georgie and Mandy's love, while sincere, cannot overcome the fundamental challenge of aligning two independent lives over the long term. The foreshadowing of irreconcilable differences, perhaps the most compelling evidence that the first marriage foreshadowed the eventual divorce, lies in the small, seemingly inconsequential choices that reveal deeper patterns. Georgie's tendency to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term planning, Mandy's growing sense of unacknowledged labor, both emotional and practical, and their mutual reluctance to address issues head-on all signal a slow-moving drift toward incompatibility. For example, in a quiet moment during the second episode, Mandy expresses a desire to relocate for career advancement. Georgie, caught between his own attachments and fear of change, responds with ambivalence rather than engagement. The scene is brief but telling. It showcases a recurring motif of deferred confrontation, where conflicts are postponed rather than resolved. Over time, these deferred conflicts accumulate like cracks in a foundation, weakening the structural integrity of their marriage. This storytelling technique is subtle but powerful. By embedding these clues in the first marriage, the creators allow viewers to understand the divorce not as a sudden rupture, but as a natural consequence of unresolved differences. The narrative rewards attentive audiences, who can trace the trajectory from initial friction to eventual separation with a sense of inevitability. The emotional undercurrents. Beyond plot and dialogue, First Marriage excels in conveying the emotional undercurrents that shape Georgie and Mandy's relationship. The show often lingers on small gestures, glances, and moments of silence that reveal the characters' internal states. A slight hesitation before answering a question, a fleeting look of disappointment, or a subtle shift in tone, all serve to communicate emotions that words alone cannot. These emotional cues are critical for understanding the divorce. They reveal that both Georgie and Mandy carry unspoken frustrations, unmet expectations, and a sense of growing distance. While the characters continue to care for each other deeply, the cumulative effect of these unarticulated feelings contributes to an erosion of intimacy. By the time the decision to divorce is made, the audience has witnessed the gradual their marriage.